Welcome, everybody, to the Pro Zone. This is the Professor, Rick Del Santo, and joining me tonight for your Sunday night retro review. We're always having fun here. The regular cast of Misfits, Dan the Beast, JJ Sins, and the DVD Freak. I hope you're all doing well tonight. We're discussing Clash of the Champions 28, the Cedar Rapids, Iowa, in the Five Seasons Center. There is no recorded attendance record, and main evented by Hogan and, that other wrestler. Oh, the greatest wrestler of all time, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. First, let me say, I haven't spoken to some of you guys throughout the week. How the fuck are you guys?
Amazing.
Great answer. So, anyways, this wraps up our Clash of the Champions reviews of the month. We are discussing a Clash of the Champions as Clash of Champions by WWE is going on, and we're completely ignoring that WWE pay-per-view. I've had 1 million people message me today saying, hey, did you hear this? Hey, did you hear that? No, I did not, because I do not watch it. I do not pay attention, and I've mentioned that many times to said person or people. And I just don't give a fuck. It just does not register. Just because I like wrestling does not mean that I'm a WWE fan.
Well, talk about pulling a, you know what? I'm not even going to say it. I'm just keep my mouth.
Well, this is a completely uncensored. Sunday night shows are uncensored, and, I'd like to know what everybody's drinking tonight. JJ, what do you got in your glass tonight before we get started?
I am drinking Barefoot Moscato wine.
Yeah.
Apparently the DVD Freak approves. DVD Freak, what do you got in your cup right now?
Well, hold on. It was Mike's Hot or Lemonade. Now we're switching over to Miller Lite.
All right, there you go. Beast.
I'm having a Pepsi, but I took 2 shots of Jack Daniels, so I'm good.
I thought you were drinking Bud Light by the can. I didn't actually see the logo. But either way, I'm drinking vodka with a mixture of ginger ale and cranberry. Because that shit is the best. I'm telling you.
Talk about being in the winter spirit.
And cranberry is also great for UTI. So, we're playing it safe tonight.
I drink enough of this that I will never get a... Wait a second. Anyways... today, this show, I'm sorry, I am stumbling today, and it's not because of the alcohol, because I'm not even buzzed. I'm just, it's the first time I've been on in a few days. So, the show starts off with it's a non-title match. Nasty Boys taking on the WCW World Tag Champs. My boy, Pretty Paul Roma and Paul Orndorff. I love Pretty Wonderful. Thought they were a fucking great tag team. I don't know what you guys think, but I thought this was a really good match, but I thought the ending was very confusing. It was kind of weird, I thought. But a good match throughout, though.
I have a disdain hatred for the Nasty Boys, so... Yeah.
They're not my favorite as a tag team, but I think if they're pushed as heels, I think that they come off okay, and they come off pretty well. It's when they're pushed as baby faces that it just doesn't make sense whatsoever. And at this time period, those shirts with all the splatter and the Nasty Boys logo were fucking popping with color. You can definitely tell where we were in 1994. But I think those shirts had way more color than they did in, like, say, 1989 and the NWA or AWA, and even from the earlier WCW days where they popped up in, like, 1990. But I think it was an overall. Go ahead, bud.
The shirts got brighter as the years went on.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
I
also hate Nasty Boys.
I don't know, man.
So with the Nasty Boys, practically baby faces, does that mean they're bathed?
They should. Well,
I don't know. They can't stick those armpits in the fucking in the heel's face. Does it have the same effect?
They should be called the Clean Boys instead of the Nasty Boys.
Yeah, I don't know. They're still. Those are two of the sloppiest workers I think I've ever seen. Maybe Jerry Sags more so than Brian Knobs, because at least Brian Knobs continued his career for quite some time.
But I think it's worth noting, how well Orndorff and Roma meshed together as a heel tag team. And this was an ideal spot for both of them since Orndorff was no longer like viable singles superstar, and Roma was just best suited in the mid card or tag team division.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I thought that I think that Roma and I thought that as a tag team, I thought those two were very well together. They were very well. I thought they were one of the like you said, after Roma left the Horsemen. Obviously, we're not going to discuss the Horsemen because everybody has their opinion on Roma joining the Horsemen. I think that they really didn't know what to do, but when those two putting them together, I thought was a really great decision because I thought Roma was a great heel. First off, I mean, I always vouch for him and say that he was a great wrestler. I think that he's definitely one of the most underrated wrestlers in the history of that era, because I think that he. As a singles competitor, he should have been brought up a bit more because he actually is a tremendous worker. It's just, I think that he wouldn't say lay down for Pat Patterson or something like that to give him a higher position, because I think he was definitely more than competent in this match. His performance in this match actually really shows it. I think, and him teaming with Orndorff here,
pretty wonderful if you ask me.
Yeah.
Ha ha.
I just love that dropkick by Paul Roman. That and Heenan's commentary saved this pay-per-view. During this match, I noticed Bobby Heenan. He made a rickshaw comment.
Right.
You guys see that? I don't know about.
No, I don't recall that.
Somebody of, I don't know, an Asian culture was arriving to the building or something, and all Heenan said, well, they bring 6 rickshaws. Made a
I did not recall that.
I don't know who it was towards.
Well, I don't know if that's.
It made me laugh.
Right.
I can't say that now. And it's pretty much in my notes. When Heenan putting over how nasty the Nasty Boys are. He said something about how they spray painted the whole back area, and I just thought it was funny. He's putting them over as nasty people, and Heenan the whole show made it very watchable. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Anybody, Freak, do you have anything to offer about this match?
It's a decent opener, but I was going to bring up, didn't Paul Orndorff die recently, or is that just... Didn't he die recently? No?
He had cancer, but other than that, he didn't die.
No? For some reason, I remember him dying.
Funny part, it's funny that you say that, because back in 1989, that was a rumor that he died, and then he came back to WCW in 1990, and there was a certain bunch of knuckleheads, DPAP, that basically said it's not really him, that it was a different guy that looked just like him. Legitimately.
What is this, Paul McCartney?
Or even or even the Warrior,
Oh yeah, well, yeah, the '92 Warrior. He came back as somebody else because his hair was a different color.
Yeah.
Yep. And he came back a little thinner, right?
Yeah, right.
A little slimmed down. Yeah.
You would be an idiot to believe Orndorff died, but okay.
Right.
That Paul Roma dropkick.
Huh?
There was a dropkick Paul Roma did during this match. I forgot what.
But yeah, I thought Roma and Orndorff were a good team together for sure. I don't like the Nasty Boys, and I especially don't like them as faces. So it's just
they're definitely terrible faces. I never understood why they were turned babyface.
Yeah, just when I thought I couldn't like them or I couldn't hate them anymore, they turn them face.
Right.
Because as much as I hate them, they do work great as heels. I'm not saying they're awful workers. I just don't like them.
Right.
So, yeah.
Sorry, guys. I dropped something. I can't find it. It's very small.
I think CW had, outlawed the crazy bras that were, practically the Nasty Boys' specialty around this time.
Right.
And I also think Pretty Wonderful held it down pretty well together. I think they gelled really smooth together as a heel tag team.
I thought so too. Yeah.
I didn't like the finish though. I didn't like the whole thing where Sags wasn't the legal man, and Randy Anderson basically just registered it as a legal count. So.
Right. I didn't understand that ending because then it's like Roma came off the top of rope and went for like a cover and then didn't roll him over, but then what the hell was it? Sags was pinned Orndorff, and it made no sense whatsoever. So, yeah, I don't really. And that splash by Roma, I do love Roma, but I think that splash was a little bit. It didn't look like Roma's typical splash either.
I actually know someone who met the Nasty Boys recently at a convention, and she said they were two of the worst wrestlers you ever could have met. They were horrible to her. They were rude. They just wanted to get out of there. Yeah.
I've heard positive things about Knobs. I heard that he was a really cool dude, like legitimately.
Because evidently they were just trying to get her out of there. They were just rushing her, and I mean, I don't know. He's a very Knobs is a very energetic guy, so I could see him being cool.
Yeah.
So
I heard he was just a really cool dude. So.
Yeah.
But, anyways, we followed up with the legendary Mean Gene going to interview the Hulkster, some random guy in a black mask and black outfit, and attacks Hogan with a pipe. It's pretty fucking incredible. He takes out his knee. It's pretty incredible, dude. Like, seriously, because the funny thing about it is that it's Arn Anderson, and you can definitely tell it's fucking Arn Anderson if you've watched him move before. You can see it in his movement. That is absolutely Arn.
And he has a very recognizable body type as well. Like you can his torso is unlike any other wrestler, so you can instantly tell who it is.
Right. And you saw when he after he hit him and kind of skipped and jumped to get the fuck out of there. I was like, it's fucking Arn Anderson. It's so obvious, but
might as well just hit him with a spine buster at that point.
Yeah. The funny part about this is I believe this was booked by your friends, the greatest fucking wrestling booker of all time, Eric Bischoff. You can definitely tell there's fucking some weirdness, WCW 90s weirdness going on with a lot of the storylines here. That it's really fucking bizarre. So
I like how Shivani identifies him as WCW's executive vice president of programming, which is something I don't really think is something acknowledged very much on TV back in the day. So
yeah, no, I think for a while they didn't that kind of a thing. I mean, when he first came in, I think he was just newer to the position when around this time period. So Anybody got anything to follow it up with, JJ?
Let's see. I just love Bobby Heenan. Love Bobby Heenan's comment. Always busting Hulk Hogan's fault. That's about it.
All right. So then the legendary match between Ricky Steamboat and Steve Austin takes place. Singles match for the United States Heavyweight Championship. If Steve Austin is disqualified, he will lose the title. Now, that's mostly a stipulation they put towards the babyface, but for some reason this time, this is also one of those things that it's the weirdness of WCW at this time period. They would do weird things, and this is definitely one of them. They put that what's typically in line for a babyface towards a heel. And Steamboat suffered a career-ending back injury in this match by landing wrong, coming off the top rope. And you can definitely tell when he's walking, he broke his tailbone, I believe, and fucked up his back. And then he was not. He finished the match, won the title, but he ended up having ended up having to retire shortly after because of
I
it.
did not.
The oh, okay. The number one thing whenever I see Austin in WCW, I can't help myself but ask the question, what if he was never let go from WCW?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to ask all of you, what do you think the Monday Night Wars quotations would have looked like if Austin would never have been fired?
Well, you know what? I think I brought this up last week or maybe like the week prior, but I always felt like if, Austin never departed for the other organizations, I think he probably still would have been floating around the high mid-card scene. But I also believe he would have been a member of the Four Horsemen with Brian Pillman.
It's very possible that that he could have been a member of the Horsemen. I don't think he would have gotten his justice like he did in the WWE, WWF, like become the mega superstar. I think he would have lingered in the upper mid card, like like a Benoit, Guerrero, Malenko did in WCW. I don't think that he would have gone further in WCW. It's unfortunate because WCW at this time period, especially this time period, was relying on Hulk Hogan and his buddies. Anybody that jumped from WWF rather, that's who they were pushing to the top, and homegrown talent or other talent was just kind of sinking to the bottom at the same time. Very few guys were getting pushed to the top or to the upper mid card, such as guys like Austin. I mean, he fucking lost the United States title to fucking Duggan in 9 seconds or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Not that I don't love Duggan, because I do, but
I actually might be in the minority here, but I might get crucified for this. But I actually prefer WCW Austin over WWF Austin.
No, you're not.
I agree.
He was a fantastic wrestler in WCW. It's when he went to WWF that his character took the majority of the front. And he had injuries that prevented him from actually performing at the level that he did in WCW. So the character is what was pushed to the front and used, basically. Not that I didn't like him in WWF, because I certainly did, but he was not the actual performer on an in-ring performance level that he was in WCW.
Yeah.
Still capable of putting on good matches, just not at that level. You know what I mean? It was a different style. He became more of a brawler than he was a technical wrestler.
Plus, I believe if he would have stayed throughout WCW throughout all his knee injuries, he probably would have retired a little bit earlier than that, because I don't think the Stunning Steve Austin character would have worked well for much longer, especially if he had to go and switch up his style later on in his career.
I like the back of his tights. They said Dragon Slayer on that. That was pretty awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's in my nose. I love how yeah.
Something I loved or noticed was, obviously, Steamboat was blowing fire at this time. And it's just it was kind of awkward watching him wipe his mouth with a napkin for a minute straight. Yeah. I was like, really? That's your production team? That's the stuff you're supposed to cut away from. But they're
right,
instead...
But one of the things that you're going to say, it's good that you said that there, because the production team at WCW, they were not great at productions. They would focus on crowds that were would say stupid things. You'd miss a really great important move that was important to the match because the cameraman decided to, or the guy in the production truck panned away to a different camera angle in the middle of the fucking move that would have. So you know what I mean? That's what they're focus. They focus on. That was a regular thing in WCW.
Yeah. Speaking of camera focus, obviously the camera focus was on the loudmouth fan, Barry Darsow, who was in the crowd.
Yeah.
Yes, a Blacktop Bully. He had yet to make his debut, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I loved every minute.
Yeah. They kept referring to him several times throughout the matches, so as well.
All right. But you know what? I love this match. It started slow and steady, And, the commentators did it, no favors by continually discussing the whole Hogan drama, as obviously during the duration of the match, they did the whole split screen where they showed Hogan being loaded on into the ambulance by stretcher. But, it developed into a hot bout between these two, longtime rivals,
Right.
and it really got the crowd hooked. You know, and Austin's heel mannerisms and I believe like Steamboat's mastery of babyface psychology always made a pretty solid, great match. And I think this was a great. Well, obviously we didn't know this would be Steamboat's last match, but I believe this was a very necessary farewell match. I mean, he ends up picking up the United States Championship, and I believe he never lost a belt. Obviously, he vacated the belt.
I think he gave it up. Yeah.
So he never lost a U.S. belt. So put that under his resume. So that's pretty good.
It's kind of sad watching this match because I always like Steamboat. He's one of the few
Absolutely.
He is a genuine guy.
Right.
Not a single flaw to him in the wrestling business, that is.
Right. Yep.
So it's kind of sad watching this, especially, he's all happy winning the belt and everything. But, yeah, it's hard to watch this one and know that it's just the imminent future is just not bright for him.
Right. Yeah. From here we go to there's a nice promo saying that the Honky Tonk Man is arriving. And you get a knockoff of the Honky Tonk Man theme from WWF. It's pretty rock and roll, dude. There's a nice pink Cadillac, and the lyrics are fucking completely ripped off. It's so cheesy, but you know what? I was bopping my head and enjoying myself.
Oh, he definitely borrowed the pink Cadillac from DDP. So.
Yeah, he borrowed that a couple times from DDP because from what I remember in WWF, I heard that it was his too back a couple times he drove it out there. Yeah. So that's pretty funny. I don't remember the Honky Tonk Man having much of a career in WCW. I think he came in, he had those fucking half singlet, half titty tights, that didn't focus on both titties. I don't even remember. Did he have a feud with Johnny B. Bad? Does anybody remember?
I do remember. Yeah, Honky Tonk Man was supposed to lose, and he lose the belt. Why?
Right.
What? Did they wrestle? What?
Who was that? I couldn't hear you, buddy.
Yeah,
JJ Free.
Honky Tonk. And can you hear me?
Now I can. Yep.
Yeah, you asked me if Honky Tonk and what's his name?
Johnny B. Bad, right? They had a little bit of a feud, right?
They did, and Honky Tonk lose Johnny B. Bad. I don't know if you know about that. But yeah, they did have a feud. I want to say, yeah, they did.
Right.
That's what I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched WCW Saturday night, so many random clashes of the champions. Like, I'm almost positive that there was something going on between them.
That's what I thought. Actually, you know what? I'm looking at the notes now. Johnny B. Bad and the Honky Tonk Man wrestle at the next Clash of the Champions. So the event we're covering now is August 24th, 1994. The next one is November 16th, 1994, and they wrestle each other's second match.
Yeah.
So, I'll watch that one later.
Fired him. Yeah, that's why Bischoff. I heard Bischoff say that's why he fired him or something like I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. What were you saying, please? Sorry.
I was just gonna ask, does Honky Tonk Man still have the longest IC title reign, or was that surpassed by The Miz?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, but as far as I know, we can look that up actually if we go ahead, talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, because Yeah, with modern wrestling, I'm not as in tune, so I don't know. But
I would have thought that Honky Tonk Man still has it. I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
any. I think Miz did break it.
Okay, because I love The Miz. I don't know about you guys. He's one of the few.
I'm a fan. Yeah.
Yeah, I love The Miz. So
I
I'd
agree.
actually be okay with that if he did
Yeah.
surpass him.
No, I always thought that he was a very competent wrestler. Thought he was a big goof when he first came in, and thought he was kind of an idiot. But you know.
Well, when you're on the Raw Divas search, fucking up the phone number that's written on your hand. If you if you guys remember that, do you guys remember that segment where he was just
That part I
completely-
don't think that I was particularly watching at that time period.
Yeah, what was it? 2005, I think something around there.
Right.
I think I was watching. I remember. I do remember that because that is funny. Oh wow! And then with not when he first came out, but I remember when he was in that tag team with John Morrison.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they're reunited the last time I checked.
Yeah, I think they're still a team.
Yeah.
It pissed me off how Miz used to come out with the bandana and a fedora. And
yes, the fedora.
And I used to rock that.
So did yeah.
And I was pissed. I'm like, oh man, this fucking jerk is wearing the same thing I'm wearing. It pissed me off, but whatever. That's how it works for me.
Back when I had really long hair, I used to rock a fedora with it.
All right. Apparently, Honky Tonk Man isn't even on the list of top 10 longest reigns. Cody Rhodes has held the title 233 days. Nakamura held it 201.
Are you sure that's not? Are you sure that's not added up, not consecutive? Because I always thought Honky Tonk Man had the longest.
Says it's the longest run. It says here. It doesn't.
Okay.
Rhodes won the Intercontinental from Ezekiel Jackson. Jesus Christ, there's a name I don't really remember.
Wow.
Well, he was the last. He was the last DCW champion.
Ezekiel Jackson.
You're making me give you dirty looks through the internets. The Miz held the Intercontinental title. One of his reigns was 188. He held it again for 169 days. So obviously it's not combined if they're listing the Miz at number 3 and number 4.
Okay.
And let's go through this list real quick and then we'll bullshit. I got to get out of here at 11:30, just for the record. So, sorry guys. So Biggie Langston held it for 166. Drew McIntyre 160. Curtis Axel held it 150. I don't recall what the fuck is going on here.
He was Intercontinental champion?
Yeah, yep. Dolph Ziggler, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins. That guy's a fucking asshole. Let's take a look and see. Honky Tonk Man. Let's see if we can find some. Oh, shit. Let's see if we can find some contradicting facts. How's that sound? Oops. Enter.
Should we sing a song so it's not silence?
Let's talk more about it. We can sing Honky Tonk Baby. How's that sound? All right.
Or we can do Stand Back.
Oh, that's my favorite song, dude. That's a great song. He held it for 64 weeks. What's 64 weeks?
That's oh god. 60. That's a year and 14 weeks.
14.
Not 14, 12.
So how many days? What I said. So how many days is that? Jesus Christ! Come on, somebody do the math. I'm not fucking doing it.
I'm drunk.
Oh, all right. So would that make him the longest?
So that should be like around like 412 days.
So it is contradictory. So the fucking thing is contradictory. So Let me type in longest reigning intercontinental. That word.
Intercontinental.
Yeah.
Reigning inter.
I would have thought Honky Tonk Man was what?
That's what I would think too. But apparently some asshole wants to fight us about this. So.
We've been out the loop. So maybe Dolph Ziggler, but who fucking knows? I don't fucking know.
Fuck that guy. That guy's a tool.
I don't even know who the current Intercontinental Champion is.
Oh shit. Jeff Hardy.
As of today, Sami Zayn.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Did he win the ladder match?
Yeah.
Okay.
He there was like something like I read the spoilers. He did something like he hooked something through Jeff Hardy's piercing, like
Jesus.
the turnbuckle.
Are you
God. This is why I don't fucking watch it.
All right. Actually, according to Daily DDT, it says The Miz is the third longest reigning. So I have no idea what the fuck is going on here. I'm just going to go with Honky Tonk Man because I think you're right. Because I think that this is some clusterfuck of. I've read through several different sites here, and they're all different. So, and the Honky Tonk Man was only mentioned on one. So, anyways, let's get drunker. I mean, let's talk more WCW.
Hey, cheers.
So we go to a promo, Dusty and Dustin from, I think it was WCW Saturday Night or something similar to that. One of the shows, the syndicated shows maybe. Dusty saying, "I love you, son, and I'm going to be your tag team partner." It's all verbatim. It's not word for word. And they're taking on Terry Funk. I need my glasses. Jesus Christ. Terry Funk and Bunkhouse Buck, who I love. I love this era of WCW for that reason that Bunkhouse Buck was in there. Don't laugh at me, you fuckers. That dude was a fucking awesome dude.
Why did I always like him too, Rick? Seriously.
You like it? Yeah. I know some people. And I thought Terry Funk was fucking great in this. And there's a post-match. This is a good match, first off. I'm going to say that. But it's like a post-match interview where they're trying to talk about Hulk Hogan. And it seems like Funk and Buck are mocking Hogan. And it's fucking hilarious. I don't know if anybody else caught that. All right, this is a great match. 7 minutes and 27. I'm not releasing this episode, I swear.
I was waiting on somebody else.
7 minutes and 27 seconds. Dusty and Dustin defeat Funk and Buck with Colonel Robert Parker.
It's interesting to see Dusty and Dustin team up together because they had a very interesting father-son relationship.
Yes.
So it's always interesting to see them team up, and it's kind of bitter. It's bittersweet. I think that's the best word for it.
Yeah.
And I think this was like right before their whole downward spiral, which I think this led Dustin to joining the WWF like little over a year later.
Yeah, because you get fired with the match with Blacktop Bully and that long, what was it? The match that was on the trust.
WCW Uncensored, 1995. He got fired. Him and Barry Darsow. But I think Barry Darsow was brought back eventually, right?
Yeah, he was brought in like later on, but I think he was mainly used for like the mid card shows, like Saturday nights and
worldwide and shit like that. Because Saturday Night at this time period was wasn't the main show up until Nitro. Well, yeah, up until Nitro. But yeah, I mean, and then they kept Saturday Night basically as it was like the equivalent to Nitro at the time period when they were still both being aired, and then eventually it just turned into fucking nothing but jobber matches. So
I love the beginning. They announced. I love how Funk is always from the double cross. Right?
Yes,
that was that was always a constant. Was that always a constant thing? Like, that Funk.
I remember it in ECW and back. When I remember it starting around ECW. I don't know when it started really because I don't remember in the 80s like him being announced from Double Cross Ranch. Yeah, even because we just didn't we just review a match of his? Was it last week or the week before? Probably the week before with him versus Flair. I don't think he was announced from the Double Cross Ranch in 1989.
No, I think they announced him from Amarillo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's,
So it's probably like his first ECW run in like '93 or something like that they started it.
did that. I don't know. That's a little thing. And just like you said, you love Bunkhouse Buck. I always liked Bunkhouse Buck. As a kid, I was drawn to him for some reason. I don't know.
Right. Right.
Drawn to certain people, but I love this match. Watching it now, Dustin showed. I don't know how young he was in his career, how far off he was. But he just proved. Oh, Dustin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he started off with what? The Natural, Dustin Rhodes, am I right?
Yep.
That's how. And he was good, and I always liked him when I was a kid. I was like, wow, his matches are fun. And watching him now, I appreciate his match as an adult. And I loved it.
JJ, did you ever see the match he had with Ted DiBiase in WWF in like 1990? Where DiBiase dared him, basically saying that I bet your son can't last 10 minutes with me in the ring, when DiBiase was feuding with Dusty, and then because Dustin wasn't necessarily wrestling for WWF, he was like sitting in the crowd kind of a thing, and then all of a sudden they had a match that went 10 minutes. Phenomenal fucking match. I don't know what, it just made me think of it like that. You were speaking about how young he was and stuff. That was a phenomenal match, I thought, just for regular WWF Saturday morning wrestling. It was a great match.
I'll have to go back and watch that, but I do remember that. And I remember rooting for who was I rooting for? Because I was a kid. And, I love how I had something in my notes. I have something, and I probably can't even read it, so I'm not even gonna try to read it. I'm sorry, never mind. I wrote my notes down kind of junk, and I write a little bit of plot. Probably write a little more.
I don't care where Dustin Rhodes is or Dustin Runnels. I don't care where he is. He's always been one of my favorite wrestlers. Mm-hmm. Regardless of where he's at, he can be stuck with the TNA gimmick for all I care. He always has some talent to bring. And it's unfortunate because he was stuck with some shitty gimmicks like in TNA and different promotions. But
I don't remember him in TNA. I'm sorry to cut you off, Freak, because I don't think that I was really watching a lot at that time, especially TNA, because I cut TNA off for a while because of a stupid storyline they did. So if you can refresh my memory a little bit.
Well, was it like Black Rain or something like that?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I kind of remember it a little bit, but I don't think I was really watching it at that time.
He had some stints as the Natural Dustin Rhodes as well, and then I remember when he came back to WCW in like late '99, 2000. He was actually referred to as the I believe the American Nightmare before Cody Rhodes adopted it.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I remember he came out as, what was it, 7? Was that the gimmick they were?
Yeah. I was really interested. Hey, I understand.
It only lasted a couple. Yeah, it only lasted a couple weeks before they just said fuck it. Like they made him look like. Go ahead, bud.
Was it true that it was because of the TNT said it made him look like a pedophile, so they had to.
That's what I was gonna say, because like they would focus on him basically looking in a little kid's window. So I was like, they were concerned that it looked too much like pedophilia, and I get it, So but he came out and did a shoot, basically a worked shoot promo, reneging on the gimmick, and I thought it was beautiful, saying, and that was like. WCW was trying anything. Russo was trying anything to throw something at the wall and see if it sticks, basically. And and Rhodes went out there and just fucking, cut a really great promo.
I remember watching those. What Big Neck? I
Yeah.
remember watching and being excited, like, oh man, like this is really creepy. This is really cool. As soon as I'm like, 'cause this is when I was starting to lose my interest in wrestling, and I was literally just looking for something to like, and I was not watching much WWE. I was paying more attention to WCW, and
Right.
yeah, I remember watching Seven come out, and then he cut that work shoot, and I was disappointed. I don't know. I thought it could have been something cool.
Right.
Had they went with that too. But that's just my thought. It was creepy. You look like Uncle Fester.
Right. That white fucking mask.
I don't know. I guess people would have considered him the Aldi version of Undertaker. I get it, but I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool.
Freak, I totally cut you off, and now we're totally ranting. So I'm sorry. If you want to continue, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying, no matter what gimmick he was thrown at, he always had something to give. I think he's one of the most underrated wrestling figures ever.
I think you're right.
I love him, no matter what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm a huge Goldust fan, no matter what stage we're at, whether it's stuttering or artist formerly known as Goldust, where he had the ball gag and the green face paint. But,
yeah.
I always loved Dustin Runnels. I think a lot of the times, though, he was kind of given shitty circumstances, but he always knew.
I think you're right.
He knew how to make the best of it, and that's why he has the longevity that he does.
Right.
And look at his ring work. Just like you said, he's very.
Look at him. Look at him now. At what, 52 years old, 53 years old, something like that. His fucking work that he's doing now. He's doing some of his best work he's done in years right now in AEW. That's not a lie. That's not a lie.
And it always seems that he progresses over time too as like a better athlete. So.
Right. The character he's got now, I love. Him as basically, he's got the half Goldust, but in a different color paint with half his face, and he's just fucking killing it, I think, in AEW. I think it's like, with the exception of the Canadian Destroyer, the most overused move in professional wrestling. Outside of I don't know, which is used more, the cutter or the fucking Canadian Destroyer?
Well, you know what? It seems to be a trend lately that any older superstar, at the age of 40 or 50, tends to pick up the Canadian Destroyer as one of their signature moves nowadays.
Ricky Morton.
Yeah.
I'll say this: his match with Cody at Double or Nothing last year,
fucking crazy, incredible.
I'll tell you what, you might make fun of me. I don't care. That match brought tears to my eyes because all these years of abuse, that match was like, holy shit, this is why I'm a wrestling fan. Like that match, you had blading, you had so many old school psychology tactics. Just that match brought tears to my eyes, and that's one of my favorite matches of any modern wrestling promotion.
Before we move on to the next thing, I just want to say that there's a lot of people that knock AEW, and I keep telling them, I said, go watch that fucking match. That might change your mind. I mean, I don't care if it's Cody and Dustin, two former WWF guys, but it's still AEW, and they're fucking doing their thing for AEW. That is a phenomenal fucking match. I fucking absolutely love that match.
And it's funny.
Go ahead.
You know what I was going to say too? I mean, people may take this the wrong way, but I believe back in WWE, I believe Goldust was the one, practically carrying Cody while they were a tag team. So I think going to AEW, I think Cody was just repaying the favor on saying,
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying there, because it's like, it's basically Cody is one of the higher ups there. When that company was being started, what's his face? Dustin was still an employee at WWE,
Right.
And it's sad to think that Dusty got to see a match between those two at Fastlane 2015, one of the worst pay-per-views of all time. And it's sad to me that that's the match he saw. And you know me, I don't believe in life or any of that. So like he obviously didn't get to see the AEW match they had, and I think that's a shame because he got to see Stardust versus Goldust, and that's a shame.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna have to go back.
I think the best part was him being involved in the tag team match at Battleground against the Shield. I think that was like a real, heartfelt moment there.
That was a good match. Yeah.
All right. Any follow-up comments on this match?
One thing I will have to say is I love like the aftermath where Arn basically just plants Dustin with a spine buster, and basically he just sells Dusty's elbows. And then also during the duration, Dusty tries to break a wooden chair over Mang, and Mang just no sells it because
right, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I love that.
That's right.
And the fact that he still kept his sunglasses on, I don't know what's the thing with people in sunglasses, but like Mr. Hughes, Mang, they just tend to keep their sunglasses on whenever they take a bad bump or something.
I think Mang, when it comes to him, his sunglasses are afraid to leave his face. He's the toughest wrestler. He's supposedly the toughest wrestler of all time. They're like, I'm not going nowhere. All right, so following this match, we find out that the announcers are speaking of Hogan. Supposedly, Hogan is walking from the hospital. At this point, you're like, what the actual fuck? This is corny as fuck. Because this is like WCW in 1994. And Bobby Heenan, of course, is freaking the fuck out. It's hilarious. He's got a neck brace on, but he's moving his neck rather smoothly, if you've noticed. So hey, did anybody notice that Mike Tenay was one of the gentlemen doing one of the interviews in the background? I don't think they actually spoke. I don't think they actually spoke to him at all. But this match I thought was very interesting for a Clash of the Champions. Antonio Inoki defeated Lord Steven Regal by yeah, I thought that was a pretty fucking weird match. I mean, I thought it was phenomenal, but I thought it was weird that Antonio Inoki was being brought over to the United States in 1994 and built up. This match was seemed like they were really trying to build this match up.
Whenever I watch a pay-per-view, I always look up Meltzer's star ratings. This match was given a dud. Complete 0. And
that's
I thought
that's really bizarre that you said that, because I was like, I'm sorry to cut you off, Freak, again, because I'm sitting there watching it. I'm like, I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it's a dud necessarily. Yeah. I think there's definitely some spots that were kind of like, I don't want to say botched, but kind of botched, I guess. So, I like when Regal's down on his back and then Inoki's on top of him and he's like throwing up the knees, trying to hit him in the head. It's kind of like an old school, like they're trying to do an old school wrestling match with like a shoot fight kind of in a way. So I thought it worked well, but at this time in the United States, it wasn't necessarily a big thing to do stuff like that. Right. UFC was pretty much in its infancy at this time too.
Well, I mean, UFC wouldn't hit its prime until like 2005. So
right, exactly. So yeah. It's.
And I tell you, for a 50-year-old guy at the time, Inoki looked like he was in pretty good shape.
Absolutely, I think he was very close to retirement at this time too, as an active wrestler.
Yeah. And then I think the commentary did a good job too on basically recapping Inoki's highlights in his career. The showdown against
Muhammad Ali. Yep.
Ali, and then a victory over Andre the Giant, which I mean it's not really special, but getting a win over Andre, I mean it's somewhat significantly big in somebody's career.
Right.
But other than that, I thought this match was, I mean, it definitely wasn't anything special. I mean, went a little bit longer than expected. But basically after the match, Regal remains unconscious on the mat to sell the hold Noki had the Dragon Sleeper, while Noki receives a respectful reaction from the crowd. So, not too bad of a match.
I find it bizarre that Inoki. I mean, WCW always had a connection with Japan, so they would always bring talents in, you know, on the regular. But I just find it bizarre, you know. On occasion, it's just that they would book something like that in a major event and build it up so much without, any. Inoki, I don't think had any regular just television matches on WCW to really build it up. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't come in and squash a bunch of jobbers like Regal did, or you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I wish this match was a little bit more competitive, but obviously Regal was, basically responsible for most of the action bell to bell physically.
Right.
As Inoki didn't really contribute to much, and then they added the distraction with the whole Hulk Hogan situation. Oh, he's walking here on one bad leg, It's like, okay, Taz walked to the hospital with a broken freaking neck. What's your point?
All right, so from there we go to, Nature Boy Ric Flair comes out in all his glory with Sherry Martel, and I tell you, Sherry Martel is looking fine here.
I would say she's one of my favorite managers of all time. So
yeah,
I could have been Uncle Gary.
Right. I think, and I thought this match. Yeah, I looked at this and it's like, oh, there's like 35 minutes left of the show according to the ticker down at the bottom. This match, way too, like, there were so many times watching it. Hogan's got a bum knee. Why did it go the way that it did? Like, I'm just very confused as to, it's very bizarre. It's just very bizarre. The whole thing.
Well, 14 minutes only to end via count out, and then you have Michael Buffer mistakenly announcing Flair as the new world heavyweight champion. So I'm like, all right, you guys already fucking.
He won by count out, and he walked away with the title, didn't he? If I remember correctly. I remember he grabbed the title and was holding it up, but like, was there like? This is the thing that I'm talking about. It's like WCW just made up their own rules randomly, and it left me like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I'm very confused because there was no pin or submission. It was a count out. And they didn't announce that there was any special stipulation either, if I remember correctly. Other than that, if Hogan doesn't show up, he's going to lose the title.
Oh, go ahead, Trey.
This is the attraction match, and with attraction matches, you don't have a lot of rules, and you just kind of have to forget we're in reality here.
I'll be back. Yep. Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know. You kind of got to play stupid with a lot of these attraction matches.
Yeah. And this match was practically a dud itself. I mean, based on the knee injury angle and the idea that he walked away all the way from the hospital, it basically absurd for Hogan to come out and completely, dominate the majority of the match. Not only was, I mean, this was definitely unrealistic, but, obviously this is wrestling that we're talking about here. And, it made Flair look insanely weak and, impotent as a contender since he had his ass handed to him, even with all the odds in his favor, especially with, Hogan's knee being taken out by Arn Anderson, the guy dressed in black. And then after the match, Hogan sold the knee like he just stubbed his toe and then left the ambulance under his own power, which was practically stupid. And, I think would it have, let me ask you, JJ, since you're here with me, my friend, would it have killed you to be carried out on a stretcher after staying chased Flair off,
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
But, sell the injury.
Oh, not flag.
Hold up a second. Who left? What happened?
I don't know. Hey,
sorry, I had somebody calling me, but
Sorry about
sell
that.
the injury. And build interest in their rematch at Halloween Havoc, play up to the aspect of it possibly being, Hogan's last match if Flair can apply the figure.
Right.
At this point, why would anybody pay to see a third match between Hogan had so blatantly had Flair his bitch in both previous meetings,
Right.
And I think with Hogan as the centerpiece of the company now, since departing from WWE in mid '93 to pursue movies, how would I say this? The main event scene became very predictable because if Hogan wouldn't do the job under his own circumstances, there's no chance Flair would ever get his win. And the booking was so one-sided and selfish, it boggles my mind that Flair never resented Hogan for it. And the money has to be good, obviously, if you're having the main attraction being Hogan versus Flair. This is something that we were supposed to see at WrestleMania 8. Obviously, we only ended up getting said.
We should have seen this in 1986 or 1987. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that was like the dream match for the entire decade of the 80s, and it finally happens in WCW. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think it delivered at all by the time, or do you think it was just too late at that point when they finally wrestled each other?
I think it was too late at that point. Just considering the fact that Hogan was getting older, Flair was getting older, and the fact that Hogan's character was becoming so dry and bland at this point, everybody just wanted to see something new out of Hogan, which obviously saw him becoming a heel by '96 and forming the NWO, which would basically recatapult his career. And this was the first time we would see Hogan as a heel since like the early '80s.
Right.
I believe he was Terry Boulder. I believe, as one of his first gimmicks. But he wouldn't end up becoming, the Immortal or the Incredible Hulk Hogan until his AWA stint, like back in like 1982, 83, and that's practically where the Hulkamania scene started. But
in the AWA,
in a way, and I think in a way too, Flair was becoming a little bit more bland himself. Obviously, the Horseman run was starting to come a little bit too old because we would see all these different incarnations. And it was like, obviously it didn't have the same spark as like the first two initial carnations of the group. And obviously later on, Flair would start to, lose his confidence. He wasn't really as big of a player as he was back in the 80s. He was still living that lifestyle because obviously he lived up to that lifestyle when it came to his character. Flair was no gimmick. He could walk around on a fucking plane with just his robe out and his dick hanging out. But other than that, Flair, I think he had a big resurgence by the time the Evolution stable was formed in 2003.
I think when it came to Evolution, I think that he was the veteran like advisor type. You get what I'm saying? Like that guy that was the veteran, that was the he was instructing. There was already the established current star, which was Hunter, and then there was the two rookies, which was Batista and Orton. You get what I'm saying? So there's the veteran, the current star, and the two rookies, basically. So Flair was like the advisor, and you get what I'm saying here? Like it was like J.J. Dillon to Flair back in the '80s, in a way.
It's
or
like
Ole to Flair. Sorry.
It's like Mickey to Rocky Balboa. Like
right.
But to answer your question from before, I think the biggest thing here is saturation. Hogan, he'd been done before, and Ric Flair he'd done before. Right. 1992, we had Ric Flair as WWF champion. The main event for WrestleMania 8 was supposed to be Hogan and Flair, but they were testing the match out with house show audiences, and they just weren't really buying it. It wasn't getting over, so they decided to change the main event to Hogan instead.
I just don't understand that in WWE land, because Vince should have just taken it, be saying, hey, this wasn't able to be done in 1987, 1988, 89, 1991, but guess what? I got these two now. and I'm able to do it. You get what I'm saying here? Because it was the two biggest wrestlers for both companies throughout the 80s that defined professional wrestling in the 1980s. And Vince should have not even fucking said, hey, it's not doing great on uh, fucking house shows. Let's just fucking do it. Who cares? Put it on second to last for all fucking.
Don't even do it on house shows because that's already saturated.
Right, because you got some cocksuckers in Iowa not liking the match because I mean, let's get fucking real here. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Let's get real. Like, that could have been a bad fucking house for all we fucking know.
And I'll tell you what, WrestleMania 8, it's kind of a guilty pleasure for me. I love WrestleMania 8, but that main event's a fucking stinker. But we did get Macho Man versus Ric Flair out of it, which was a great storyline and a great match at WrestleMania.
I thought those two worked phenomenally together.
And you had Kurt Hennig at the side.
Yeah.
You know, you had Miss Elizabeth somewhat getting involved at the time. So, you know,
I watched Flair's farewell match not that long ago with Perfect Kurt Hennig, and it was a TV match, but you know, it was a fucking perfect match for what it was. You know what I mean? It was pretty exciting because I think at that time Hennig was basically jobbing to the fucking up and comers. You know what I mean? With the exception of Flair, basically.
So I think the key to Hogan and Flair was saturation. It was too late.
Yeah.
Both characters had already been overdone to the point where it's just people
want to see.
Yeah, they want to see other things. If you would have done it in their prime, that would be the biggest match on the planet.
So many wrestlers that WWF wanted to get in the 80s that they couldn't necessarily get in the 80s. You know, Flair hopped because of Herd. You know, what's his name? Vince McMahon was trying to get Nikita Koloff, and Nikita Koloff said he wasn't going because WCW made him who he was, so he's never jumping. You look at his career, how short his career actually was, Nikita Koloff. I know this is such a random person to bring up, but there were certain guys that were there's so many guys that were so loyal that they didn't want to jump because that's where they made their money. I don't think Nikita started until 85. He retired in 92. You know what I mean? He left. Yeah, he left it. So that's what 7-year career. But he was a huge force in that time period. You know what
I mean? You know, the thing about this Clash of the Champions, the Hogan Flair storyline throughout the show made Clash of the Champions a massive success. And I think this was the highest rated television special on TBS back in 1994, because obviously you had those two as the big main attractions.
Right.
And you know, and the most widely viewed match on cable television up to that point. And while I disagree with the way the match and the post-match were handled, I think the build-up throughout the program was very well done. And the effective at creating drama and interest, because obviously the protagonist, Hogan, was showing weakness. Oh, my leg, but I'm still going to make it to the show and walk all the way from the hospital.
Well, my thing is, how did he get to the hospital? All right, he was attacked during the second segment, okay?
Right.
All right, and I think Freak knows where I'm going with this because of the face he made. How did they get injured and brought to the hospital and then back just a tad over an hour? How fucking close was that hospital? And how like and they're in, where was it again? Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Oh shit! I even made an Iowa reference just a second ago. So my thing is like, how the fuck, like if they're in a major city like Cedar Rapids, how fucking busy that ER, like that they got to check on his room, that he was able to get in and out in about an hour and walk back to the arena. That's a little bit like the storyline. I mean, this is the cheesiness of WCW at that time period. You know what I mean?
The way I see it,
Vince McMahon takes from this every fucking week now, very similar. Dan, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, if you were really going to sell a knee injury, would you at least call a cab and say, "Hey, can you take me to the arena?"
That's what I'm saying. Because he's Hulk fucking Hogan. All right, he hulked up and walked out of the fucking hospital.
I could see him like shaking the whole time in the emergency room, hulking up.
He's like, "Oh, brother, my leg."
Oh God, I think we should do Google Maps how far that hospital was from the arena, and
That's
really
not a bad idea.
We should map this out.
Oh God, if it still exists, find out.
One of the funny things I thought was when Hogan got injured, when Anderson attacked him, the guys that are surrounding him, all former AWA talents, Nick Bockwinkel and Greg Gagne, who were executives at or had office positions at WCW at that time period. And, obviously Hogan was pretty much made because of Nick Bockwinkel before jumping to WWF. Like the Hulk Hogan character was made huge in the AWA, and then he jumped to WWF. So, where Vince made him bigger. So I thought that was kind of interesting to see those guys standing in the background.
I think what made him so big in AWA was obviously after his role in Rocky 3.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's just like, he became humongous like at that time period, but he was, and that's what Vince saw that and said, I want this fucking guy, JJ, you're quiet over there. You got anything to offer, buddy?
Not much from you guys.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah?
What?
What? You said no? Nothing? All right.
Well, I mean, the show was full of like Hogan and his knees.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of got a little old.
Yeah.
Watching the show made me miss 92 WCW.
I miss WCW for sure. Especially 1995 and before. I always go back and watch, wrestling. I don't ever watch like the later stuff, like 97, 98, 2000.
Ooh, yeah.
Especially 2001.
We should go through every Nitro 2001. That'd be a fun series.
I will. Ooh, that'd be cool. No, but I will watch.
I'm definitely interested in doing that. So.
That was a joke. What are you talking about? I don't want to put myself through that.
Hey, but a Nitro 96.
I hate you because I was.
Well, you want to watch 2001 Nitro? Just watch Monday Night Raw.
You mean currently?
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. What else we got here? I got about 15 minutes before I got to say goodbye, actually. So let's try to squeeze some more shit in here.
Continuing on with the pay-per-view, I think aside from the great match,
hold on, Dan. It's a TV special.
TV. Yep.
Free TV.
Correct.
That was the fun stuff about Clash of the Champions.
But I think aside from the great match between Austin and Steamboat, I think the rest of the Clash featured passable to solid wrestling. Was basically a backdrop for the Hogan saga as well, as obviously as described earlier. His character was pretty much becoming bland, and I think everybody was just tired of seeing a babyface Hogan. But around this time period, this was a bad time. I think WCW was rightfully trying to maximize its seasonable investment in Hogan because they figured, he had such a hot run the first 8 to 9 years in the WWF. And then they figure, you get this hot commodity, which, he did play a big role because obviously, Clash 28 was, the mostly, viewed match on cable in 1994. But, at the same time, this was way past its prime. We're not talking 80s wrestling anymore. We're shifting over to the 90s. So Hogan and Flair, that's not really something people are really invested in anymore. Everybody wants to see new talent, put over. And obviously that was a big deal going into the later 90s as you had guys like Benoit, Guerrero, Malenko, Douglas, just like guys like that who were really trying to seize an opportunity. And obviously that didn't pan well for them because WCW was mainly focused on the older guys. So
when WCW tried to create new talent during the New Blood gimmick, they just chose the wrong guys a lot of the time. I'm not saying everyone was the wrong guy. It just seemed like they were, pushing just because a guy looked a certain way. It had nothing to do with his ability. But I mean, I guess that's regular in professional wrestling. It just seemed like they had no ability whatsoever, certain guys,
Right.
But, certain guys, Chuck Palumbo, I thought was a very talented guy. Somebody like that where they pushed him. Jindrak could have used a stage name.
Yeah.
Guys like that, you know what I mean? There's just some sort of default with certain guys, but overall,
injured. Okay.
yeah.
So you're saying you didn't like Chuck Palumbo's rivalry with Jamie Noble over the love of Michelle McCool back in 2007?
I don't even remember.
Actually, I don't even fucking remember that, but I think that Chuck Palumbo. You said Jamie Noble. Jamie Noble, I thought, was a phenomenal athlete as well. Phenomenal worker.
Yeah.
And he was like a guy from I don't know where the fuck, Tennessee or some shit, or Georgia. He moved like Benoit, but had a southern but he had a southern accent. You know what I mean? He was like a smaller Benoit. And that's what I always liked him. And I liked him in the Young Dragons. So in WCW, I thought that was man. I thought that, I liked him as Jamie Noble in WCW when he was on Saturday night and when he made his appearances and, as the Young Dragons with Kaz Hayashi and Jimmy Yang. I love those guys as a tag team.
I actually enjoyed the short tag team that Noble had with Kid Cash as the Pitbulls. I think they could have had a pretty lengthy run as a tag team, but obviously things didn't go as planned.
Right.
Do we have a letter grade for this, everyone?
I thought this was pretty good, so I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give this about a B, with the exception of everything. I thought the undercard matches were all pretty good. I did like Inoki versus Regal because I thought it was like an old school shoot style match. If you watched old UWFI from Japan, then it was kind of like along those lines. But with the exception of everything being based around Hogan and Flair, I thought the undercard was fucking great. I really did. And Hogan and Flair, I just thought that there was times when you thought the match was going to fucking end, and then it continued. But I'm going to give it a B.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go a little bit lower, but I think I'm gonna go with a C+, only because I enjoyed the Austin Steamboat match,
Great
but
match.
I believe the main focus throughout the whole duration of this pay-per-view was obviously Hogan selling the injury. He has a knee injury, so you had to do all the split screens on giving an update on Hogan's condition. Obviously, we know he's going to be wrestling tonight. If he's walking all the way from the hospital on a bad leg. They're now what that practically reminds me. They're basically doing a stint off of Clash. I believe it was one of the earlier clashes, and it was the same circumstance with Sting and Rick Rude and Sting, where basically they did the same exact thing where you had Eric Bischoff as a reporter on the scene. Obviously, Sting had enough sense to sell the injury. Unlike Hogan, toughening it out. Like, I took my vitamins, brother. I'm going to walk to the arena. I'm all set. No cab rides for me. But other than that, this was, like I said, this clash was passable to solid wrestling. The main event wasn't as good, but obviously it made a good TV rating. And, this was a pretty good way to end Steamboat's career with Steamboat and Austin for the U.S. title. Steamboat winning the title and practically never losing the title. And obviously we want to see Steamboat, resurge into the wrestling again. Well, at least match-wise until WrestleMania 25.
Yeah, he went against Jericho, right?
Yes. Well, first match, it was a 3-on-1, but then Backlash, they ended up having a match, which that actually was a decent match. I'm not going to complain.
I actually didn't know about that until years after, because I think around that time period, I think that's the period where I wasn't watching wrestling. And I went back and watched it just specifically for that fucking match, and I thought it was great. I mean, Steamboat comes out of retirement for one match. Fuck yeah, I'm going to tune in. If I knew about it when it was happening, I would have bought the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
And
because
the fact that he had back-to-back pay-per-view matches too, but really showing off, Steamboat in a one-on-one match with Jericho, which Jericho idolized growing up in the wrestling business. I think it was a pretty decent match. That despite the fact of not wrestling for over 15 years.
Right. Freak.
yeah, WrestleMania 25, he had Piper, Steamboat, and Jimmy the Murderer Snuka. And
Hey, oh, hey.
I look, I don't give a shit. All right, I don't give a shit. Fuck him. But
DVD Freak's the most controversial figure on this show.
dude, I'll tell you my opinion. I don't care. But yeah, I would rather have seen Jericho and Steamboat at 25 personally, because they ended up having a good match at Backlash, and that just shows you how good Steamboat was. He could just randomly out of nowhere come out of retirement and put on a fucking sleeper match.
Right.
But I would give this show a B-.
Okay.
I'm very against having split screens during Steamboat and Austin.
Okay.
I just, there's a time for split screening and there's a time for not.
Personal opinion, I fucking hate split screening.
Yeah.
It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, so that kind of took me out of the match. It's just like, really? Like, you have a title match here. You could have done that during the Regal match. I don't care. But
yeah.
It's just, I think it's disrespectful to the performers that are in the ring right now.
Right.
Yep.
They're trying to put on this clinic, and they're like, oh, by the way, Hogan took his steroids up the ass, and now he's coming out, walking to the arena.
He took his steroids up the ass. All right.
Well, you know what I mean. He put the needle.
Yeah, sure.
He put the needle in his fucking ass cheeks, and he's on his way. But you know what I mean. It's just, I thought that was bullshit. But obviously, this television special was meant to sell one match, and that was Ric Flair and Hogan, which was a dream match for a lot of people. But like I said, it was saturated, so it's just kind of, it's that attraction match that a lot of people were just kind of, too late. But overall, the undercard was good. I think Austin and Steamboat is one of the wrestling greats. It's unfortunate. It was Steamboat's last match, and it's sad to watch. It's sad to watch it. Well, technically,
you're right.
Technically, his last match before 2009. But overall, I think it's a solid undercard and a not so solid main event, and a not so solid underlying storyline throughout that undercard. Right. So yeah, B-.
JJ Sins.
I'm gonna go with a B. Okay. I love the match. I love the undercards, but there was so much attention paid to Hulk Hogan and Bob Me. It really bummed me out throughout the whole thing. And then again, the split screen, DVD split screen, like said everything I felt in better words, But again, a great undercard. So,
right.
That the Steve Steamboat and Sonny Steve, yeah, great match. But come on, split screen, no way, bro. I'm gonna give it a D. Too much attention to be focused on Hogan, and kill this thing.
All right, guys, we're about to wrap it up. So, where can you be found, Daniel the Beast?
You can find me on Facebook at Danny Bryant. You can find me on Instagram at D_Banshee187. And you can find me on YouTube and Twitter at DannyBeast94. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, especially if you're going to be watching my channel and you're not subscribed. What are you doing? Hit that button.
Freak.
Oh, man. The DVD Freak on YouTube, And tonight I will be making a video about my new paranormal channel, Living Paradox. So that's a new little shout out there. But
I hope
wrestling...
you don't have any bad dreams.
Oh man, you know what? There was a bad dream I might tell a story about sometime soon because it really happened. And by the way, DPAP. But
don't pull a ding dong.
Oh man, I can't wait for his concert. But anyway, wrestling DVD.
The short bus tour.
Oh man.
Oh, shit.
The DPAP Express.
Oh hell yeah.
Continue, DVD free.
Anyway, the Wrestling DVD Room on Facebook. Share your latest wrestling DVD pickups or things you're selling, all that stuff. And Instagram and Twitter at the DVD Freak. And that is about it.
Mr. JJ.
Oh, you find me everywhere besides Facebook. Most active on Snapchat at JSINNZ.
And of course, you could find me somewhere. Twitter, Instagram, the Rick Del Santo. I'm probably gonna change that name soon because I'm fucking bored with it. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share the Pro Wrestle Zone podcast on YouTube, because you should really harass your family to like, share, and subscribe. Send all the links to every single person you know, because, well, harass them, because we like to harass people, and DPAP. Have a great night, folks.
It's all